cemetery. I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. I'll be last place, that's alright. I don't work at a fast pace. I'm a steady horse creeping up.
And here we have him, Trevor Keogh. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How
Trevor, it is an absolute pleasure to be here to interview you today.
Thank you.
I've got to tell you, of all the players in your era that we have already interviewed, all of them say the same thing. Trevor Keogh was an absolute champion player and a great bloke and a great teammate. So
no, they're too kind.
No. I'm sure that that's no coincidence.
Say, yeah, if a lot say it, then they're all.
So it's great to have you, mate, and thank you for inviting us into your lovely home.
Yes, thank you very much, mate.
Only took us about 3 trains, 2 buses.
No, I'm
only kidding.
3 days.
Beautiful area here in the eastern
40 k's away from the city.
Yeah, 40 k's. Yeah,
Mount Evelyn here. It's a beautiful suburb in the outer eastern suburbs of Melbourne.
It's nice, very quiet, but nice.
What's life like for you these days?
Good right now. Yeah,
okay.
I've been retired for a couple of years, so I'm learning to be retired that way.
You're playing a bit of golf, a bit more golf than you used to? Or?
I am playing golf.
Okay.
I've just come back from a knee operation, but I've played last 3 games. So
what's the handicap?
14.
It's not bad.
You know what my handicap is? My entire golf, my entire swing. It's a massive handicap.
I can do that too.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Well, actually, your knee injury, is that an old football injury or?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Back to 1980, that one.
Really?
Actually,
yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, we were having a match practice on the number 1 oval outside of the footy ground, and I was on Jimmy Buckley's team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he handballed one over the man on the mark to me. I didn't want it.
Right.
He handballed over the top, and Hurricane Harms saw it happening, and he came screaming down and crashed into my back, twisted my knee.
Oh no!
And that was it.
So Harmsy, in a practice match, caused you to have an injury.
Buckley and Harms.
Goodness, man! And this was a pre-season game,
would you?
Pre-season.
1980.
Yep. That would have stuffed your season.
It did.
Yeah.
And that's where all the...
Was it an ACL or was it...
after that?
Yeah.
Was it a medial ligament or was it a posterior?
Well, they x-rayed
wouldn't have been an
ACL. At those days, yes, it was.
It was an ACL?
Yeah.
Wow.
Both, all 3, they said all 3 ligaments.
Wow.
Well, there's 4 there, those 2
but
meniscus.
you came back and played that year, didn't you?
I did.
Geez, that's a quick recovery.
I played only half a dozen games in 1980, but 81 I played the full year in the reserves.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe a couple of odd games.
You won the best and fairest that year in the reserves.
Yeah.
I
don't know how I did that.
Until then, you'd been relatively injury-free, but I mean, that almost signalled like the end of your career once that knee injury took place.
Because a knee operation in those days.
Wayne Harms, you got a lot to answer for.
Yes. I told him.
Well, anyway, let's go back to the beginning, shall we?
Yeah,
right.
You've got a wonderful history. Tell us about where you were brought up and how you came to play in the Bendigo League where we recruited you from.
Yeah, well, originally we were from the Mallee, the family.
Oh, that was a pretty silly thing to do.
And
sorry about that, everyone.
And I think when I was about 3 or 4 years old, we moved to Bendigo for schools and things, because there's 8 of us, 6 boys, 2 girls.
Yep.
And we lived on a 65-acre small farm just in Spring Gully, just outside of Bendigo. Yeah. And so we ended up going to the Morris Brothers College in Bendigo, and that was all football, cricket, all boys school.
Yeah.
About 500 or 600 kids. And
you always play footy?
Always played footy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we played footy at school, we played footy with teams, we played footy at home.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for us. So we, kicking practice. I mean, my leg never got sore from kicking. We were kicking all the time.
Always.
It's all changed now. It's all changed now. If they kick a certain amount of kicks at training these days, they've got to stop.
I know.
Stop, because you might do an injury.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
No, well, no one ever told me that.
No, I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah. So then, so football was part of the school. We'd go to Assumption, Wangaratta, play against the other colleges, Catholic colleges in the state, and it was always big with the Morris brothers, the teachers themselves. They loved the footy.
Yeah.
Good coaches, good blokes. They were dedicated to it, so they looked after us.
Great.
So from there you go to, because that was during the week. We'd play, our sport was footy.
Yeah.
Right.
At the weekends, then we moved on to playing. The school had a team in the Bendigo League under 15 competition.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
yeah.
At the time, so
Right.
they had we had an A team and a B team.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they started off in the B team when I was about 13,
Yeah.
and then moved into the A
Quickly
team.
moved to the A team, I reckon.
Then after that, though, you had to go to the under 18 comp in the
Yeah.
Bendigo League. So we all went to Sandhurst.
Yeah.
And then you'd play against Echuca and Rochester and South Bendigo, Castlemaine, Eaglehawk, Kyneton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. And then I played 3 years in the under 18s. My final year in the under 18s, I played a few games in the seniors. But my father wasn't too keen on that.
Why not?
He always thought I was too small.
Because you were...
Which was right.
Yeah, no, you were...
Well, you weren't 6 foot.
Well,
but,
that's right, that's right.
But,
I mean, not like the Rovers these days that are all 6'3".
Yeah.
But those days there, the ruckmen were only 6 foot.
Yes.
Well, John Nichols was only about 6'2".
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had the odd, they had the, like, Len Thompson.
Yeah.
There was quite a few like that.
Yeah.
But generally, they weren't tall.
Yeah, they weren't that tall, that's right.
Yeah.
They were more mobile ruckmen back in those days, weren't they?
Yes. Yeah, and they could take a mark. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd put Big Nick against anyone that's 6'10".
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you could take a mark.
He'd
that's
take a
right.
mark.
Yeah.
So from there,
So when did Carlton come knocking on your door? Didn't you play really well in a grand final, and might have even been a losing grand final, but nevertheless you were the best player for the team, and I think there was 2 or 3 clubs came knocking on your door. Is that right?
yeah, but that started before zoning came in.
Okay.
So we had half a dozen clubs come up and
zoning,
talk to us and all that.
Right.
When I was...
How old were you?
only 16, 17.
So who came? Do you remember?
What teams?
Yeah.
Essendon, St Kilda, I think Collingwood, Carlton. Carlton was
Well,
pretty good.
that's exciting for a 16-year-old, though. You're getting these AFL sides to come and saying, oh, you want to come and train with us or we'll have a look at you. How exciting is that for a 16-year-old?
Well, it is, but I knew what the old man would say. he would...
Over my dead bloody body.
He wasn't. And I had two older brothers, Kieran and Peter, who had been down to St Kilda and trained with them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
a bit of experience.
So I had them before me.
That's right.
Yeah.
You were one of 8 children, weren't you?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
And 6 boys.
Yeah.
So we all played footy for Sandhurst, the whole lot of us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the old man wasn't keen on you going to play
He hated Melbourne, didn't like VFL footy.
Those city slickers down there. He was a real country man, was he?
And we've never been to Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Never been to Melbourne. And when I finished school, I had to come to Melbourne to work.
Yeah.
A lot of us did. Kids around my age, in those days, there wasn't much in Bendigo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Is that
was a big
what
thing.
tempted you to go back to Carlton and give it another try? Because I think you played a couple of games in our premiership year of 1970, but that was only because I think back in those days Carlton had to secure something like half a dozen games based on... I'm trying to remember the scheme that they had. What was it again? It was like credits or something, or match credits or something?
I can't remember that. Or
something along those lines?
I probably knew nothing about that.
Okay.
I did play...
Well, you were only allowed to play a certain limited amount of games.
6 games.
That's it. It was half a dozen games.
On
permits, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Match permits.
Yeah, so Rass was coach in 70.
Yep.
And so I played 4 in the reserves and 2 in the seniors.
That's right.
Wow.
You
And
played your
then-
first 2 games in the seniors.
Yes.
Not round 4, 1970, against North.
Against North was
That was your first game?
Yeah, that was against at
Do you
Carlton.
remember your first game of football?
Yeah, I remember. I kicked a couple of goals.
Yes, you did.
It
was a good game, really good debut.
And I was played a little bit of the time. I think Barry Cable had just arrived as well.
Right,
So he was playing
from
that
WA.
game. Yeah.
For that he played for North, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that was at Princes Park.
Yep. Yeah.
What are your memories of running out for your first game?
I was probably nervous, but I can't remember being nervous. Was
your family all there to watch you and all that?
The old man was there?
He was there.
Yeah, was he?
He was there. That would have been one of, you count on 2 hands, I reckon, the number of games you saw me play.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Wouldn't have been 10.
Really?
Really?
10,
Throughout your whole career? He only saw you maybe...
A couple of times. But I reckon he used to listen to it on the radio.
Yeah, I reckon. Just quietly, right? He's keeping it on.
Too proud to admit that maybe he got it wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe you were up to the grade.
Maybe he's not too small.
Is there a part? Was there a part of you that said, "I'm going to show him. I can play"? So what if I'm a bit shorter than the others, and I'm going to show him I can actually make the grade here?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And but not just for that.
Yeah.
But I always felt confident once I was on the ground.
In your ability.
Yes, that I could get the ball and I could do things.
Yeah.
So I wasn't worried about but when I first went down there, it sticks in your head. You're too small. You're too small.
Yeah.
So I train. We go into the showers. This was I think it might have been in 1970. It could have been 71.
Yeah.
You go into the showers and here's all these big blokes next to me. They're 6 inches or a foot taller.
Yeah.
Jesus, I wish I had.
yeah,
I wish I was that size.
Yeah.
But
And in the change rooms, were they 6 inches longer as well?
no, I didn't look that far down. I was looking up there.
Just look at you, always look up, man.
As a young bloke, you probably look around and think, "Wow."
That's funny.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
that was one of my first memories of that.
Yeah. The
in
famous Carlton change rooms, of
Yes,
course.
yeah.
You would have seen a lot of things around the walls in those days
Oh
too.
yeah. It was it was pretty.
Were blokes smoking and drinking beer at half time in your day when you first started? Because that used to take place at
there was
Carlton.
the odd one that had a smoke.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
funny. But that's like a normal thing.
But it wasn't
Yeah, it was normal.
part of life back then,
Part
wasn't
of
it?
life. Yeah.
Did you follow? Who did you used to follow?
I did follow. Like we didn't get a chance. Like I said, we never came to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Never came there. Never.
So you never really followed a VFL team with any great passion?
We had a leaning to Essendon.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I tell that to people, they go,
bloody
hell.
Don't worry, we've interviewed that many players that followed Collingwood and
I know.
Essendon, Richmond as kids. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's usually the strong rivals though that played Carlton in those days that they used to follow.
Yeah, that's right.
So you had a couple of games in 1970 in the number 45 Guernsey back then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then you didn't really secure another major gig in the team for a little while after that. So what happened in 1971? Tell us.
71.
You played your 6 games in 1970 and obviously couldn't play the premiership year that year in the
That's
seniors.
right. So I in 1970, after those 6 games, we played a game out at Waverley. I don't know whether I played in the seniors or the reserves. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But after that game, Barras came to me and said, "What are you doing?" Because he'd heard things, and I'm going back to Bendigo.
Right.
And I said, "Yeah, I am. I'm going back to Bendigo." And he goes,
"Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, you want to be a big fish in a small pond." I said, "I'm going back to Bendigo now."
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what he said to me.
So what he's really trying to say
on
is
him, but
you're going back to your comfort zone.
Yeah, he's saying that I'm going back where I can
dominate,
be a star, and that sort of stuff. But that wasn't the reason. And then the year after, I wished I hadn't come down because I think I sat on the bench for most of the game. I might have played 14 games or 15 games or something, but most of them were on the bench.
With Barassi as coach.
With Barassi as coach,
Okay,
That was his last year as coach. And we failed to make the finals that year.
That's right.
Was it only a top 4 in the finals back then, and we finished 5th?
Yeah.
After winning the premiership of 70, so that must have been disappointing for the team.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I played most of the time, as I said, on the bench or in the reserves that
So
year.
when you played on the bench in those days, it was just 19th and 20th man, wasn't it?
You couldn't get on.
When did you get on? Did you have some games where you actually didn't get on at all? Or did you normally come on with maybe a quarter to go or half a quarter to go?
There were some games where I would have played 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's pretty
because they were pretty
good.
Like we were always pretty competitive. So to take someone off when you can't.
And then is that pressure? Like just so you know, you got like 10 minutes in that
to make an impact.
Like, thinking I've got to make an impact.
It's impossible. Sitting on the bench is freezing cold.
It's not like these days too.
And then they put you on in the heat of the last quarter. Yeah, there might be a goal of difference or something.
And you expected to do.
You're probably lucky you didn't tear a hamstring in the last 5 minutes of the game.
It probably didn't do me any good.
That's
for sure. So I was really unhappy right through that year. I was fine with playing the reserves and everything, but I just wasn't happy with the way. You play a game, but you're on the bench. And you do that week after week. Almost. Anyway, at the end of that year, Big Nick got the nod for the thing, and
Barassi left.
And I was that 72. I was third in the best and fairest. I thought it was my best year. At Carlton.
You consider that one? You consider that your best year? Okay, that's interesting because you won two other best and fairest.
You started round one. Did you start on the ground?
Yes.
Straight away, and that was it.
So Big Nick had a lot of confidence in you.
Never looked back. I love it.
So Big Nick had a lot of confidence in you. Did he say anything before the season started that gave you the motivation to really?
He didn't say anything, but he showed it by
picking
his confidence in you. Yeah. So
and this is where you got the number 8 Guernsey.
Yeah.
And the player that left that Guernsey vacant. At the end of 71, I think it was, or was it at the end of 70? Was Dennis Minari.
Yes.
God rest his soul, he only passed away earlier this year. But apparently it was his cousin, just trying to think of his name, I think it was Nildo or something like that, who had a lot to do with you in Bendigo.
Yeah, he was the coach. He was the coach in, it wasn't 1970, but 69. Probably 68.
So he was your coach, and his cousin Dennis ends up leaving Carlton, and you take his number 8.
Yeah,
that's a bit of an irony there, isn't it?
Yeah, Nildo was a good player too. He was a really good player.
Yeah. So you took the number 8 Guernsey, and 1972.
They offered it to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take it.
1972. Tell us about that year.
72. I think I played in 1972. It's how different it was. I think I played 35 games.
Really?
Counting. Practice games.
Oh, 9 games.
Practice games, night games.
Wow.
Finals, and we had a draw.
Yes.
In the finals.
Yes.
Had to replay that.
That's right.
Then we had a 3-game round robin thing with the premiers in Adelaide.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later. We'll talk about that a little later.
So there you go.
So 35 games in 1 year?
35, yeah.
And it does. It ends up.
It's almost 2 seasons.
Ends up with a premiership, of course.
Yes.
Pretty much in your first full year.
Yeah.
How was that? That? Well,
fantastic.
We could start with first of all, you have a good year. Where did you finish off that year? On top of the ladder?
We were on top of.
I think we were.
I think we were.
And Richmond was second.
Second. Yeah, we played them in the second semi, which we drew.
Yes.
And then they beat us.
So the replay's the week after?
Yes.
Yeah, and they beat us.
Everyone, you go the week after, we're going to play another game against these guys, and they beat you. How do you feel after that?
We were very unhappy.
Yeah.
Very unhappy with that, because we played terrible that day.
Yeah.
And Richmond, just played all over us.
Then we came back and beat St Kilda in a preliminary final.
Yeah, and we struggled.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah, but we made it over the line to get another crack at Richmond in the 1972 grand final, and my word, what a grand final.
Now, what did Big Nick?
Yeah.
Big Nick, he had a bit of a strategy for that grand final, didn't he?
He did. I can't remember much about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I wasn't in the
Inner sanctum.
Inner sanctum. Because we've talked to Big Nick and he's told us he had this strategy on how he was going to win this game. Like there was a few moves done on the ground, wasn't there?
Heaps.
Yeah.
To start the game.
Yeah. You had a very important role to play early because you kicked 3 goals in that game and they were very instrumental in giving us a nice lead.
Yeah, I loved the first one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because for one thing, Jez had passed it to me. Another thing, it went straight through the guts.
Yeah, it did too, yes.
And it was the first goal of the match.
Yeah, first goal of the game.
Started off.
Got us off to the right on the right foot. Yeah, it would have been a great memory for you. Do you remember what it was like running out for your first ever grand final, 1972?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can you describe to us?
115,000 or something, 112,000 people there. And the noise that if you hadn't experienced before, it was like big bangs going off in your head. That was that loud.
Wow.
Amazing.
Being in the
balloons going off everywhere and
and of course a lot of people standing and all that sort of stuff. It was a bit packed to the right.
A lot of standing room back in those days. 120,000 in 1970.
Such crowds. Tell me something. You know, you're in the middle of the grand final and you're in the middle of the game, and there's 112,000 people screaming. Does it go silent sometimes in your head, like you can hear nothing?
Yes.
You're that concentrating on the game, you hear nothing, That's amazing.
I reckon after that initial, when you run out, and then you've got the national anthem and all that sort of stuff, then the crowd goes off again. But after that, when the game starts, don't think I heard much.
I think you're right.
You're just focused, are you? Is that what it is? You just
I was focused on dodging kicks in the leg.
Who was your opponent that day? Do you remember?
Kevin Sheedy.
Kevin Sheedy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does that mean he was playing?
He got moved off me.
Yeah.
He was in the back pocket.
Well, that's how well you were doing. So you played forward pocket to start with?
I started forward pocket, And I was meant to be changing with Gags.
Oh, yeah.
On the
Gallagher.
Yeah. But he never changed.
He never changed. Yeah, that's it.
He actually played quite well.
He did.
That game, Gags. So, but I hated him because he wouldn't change.
Yeah.
Well, you know the penalty you paid for that? That was the last game of football he ever played for Carlton.
It was too.
Then he went to...
You hogged it on 72 grand final day, out. Keogh in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was the biggest score ever in a grand final?
Yeah.
And the most amount of goals ever scored in a grand final. I mean, 50 goals is almost unfathomable to imagine.
Richmond.
But not only did we kick 28 goals, 177 for the day, but do you know that we were actually 25 goals 9 at the end of the third quarter? We only kicked 3 goals in the last.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that was Big Nick's kind of strategy.
I think we were pretty much spent
to
by
kick goals.
We're going to outscore
them. That was his strategy. We're going to outscore them. We know that they're going to score 100 points, but we've just got to score more.
Yeah.
And it was clearly targeted at just kicking more goals, because I think Jesselenko kicked 7. I think Big Nick kicked 6 himself, and I think Robert Walls kicked 6.
He did.
So,
and I kicked 3.
Keogh kicked 3.
So that was the forward line.
Yeah.
There you go. Not a bad forward line, is it? 22 goals between the 4 of them.
I reckon number 5.
Sid Jackson.
Sid Jackson, he kicked a few goals too. I reckon he kicked 2 or 3. I reckon he kicked 3.
I can't remember. I'll look it up for you. How's that?
He may have. I know he kicked some.
There would have had to be a few players kicking some goals.
I'll look it up for you.
With 30 odd goals there, 28 goals. And how was it when you you get that medal? Like, how is it? Like, how is when you hear that siren? Is it relief? Is it that? Of course, there's excitement, but is it relief?
Yeah. It's relief.
Because that's how 1972, I can't remember so much. I remember the grand finals. For me, as a supporter, was relief.
Yeah.
And so it'd be the same for players.
For me, it was relief.
Yeah.
Some blokes could celebrate. Still, I was so tired.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a whack in the back of the head just before half time. And I was a bit dizzy at half time.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
I was happy to see out the game because Gary Crane was on the bench.
Yeah.
And was it Neil Chandler or not? No, I think Neil Chandler was in the side.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy Lucas
I was on the bench.
On the bench.
Yep.
So they were always going to put them on at some stage.
Yeah,
but
Gary
I didn't
Crane,
want to be the one coming off.
Gary Crane, and Andy Lucas started on the bench. I'm just looking at it now. Yeah,
yeah. So because they did put those two guys back on, but someone got injured. But I mean, I could have gone off easily.
Yeah, you were.
Do you want to know the goal kickers from '72 grand final? Jezelenko 7, Walls 6, Nichols 6, Keogh 3, Jackson 2.
There you go.
And then singles to Kevin Hall, Adrian Gallagher, Neil Chandler, and is it Dale? Dale Dixon?
David.
David Dixon, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew it was close to that.
Yeah,
So there you go.
It's interesting.
Barn kicked 5 for Richmond and Sheedy got 3. So you must have got those 3 after
In the
he got
last
shifted.
quarter, I think. I think you got them in the last quarter.
Yeah.
And you got shifted onto the ball, I think.
Yeah. Must have been in big celebrations after that.
Oh, they were. But, as I said, I got a whack in the head just before half time and I was struggling. I was struggling to... I still stayed on.
Yeah, of course.
But,
those days, unless you're dead, you're not getting
That's
off.
right. That's right.
Not like that. You get a knock and you're out for 2 weeks.
That was.
Did your old man watch that game?
He was there.
He was there.
He was there.
One of the games he was there.
He was there.
So he must have been pretty happy after that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But after he saw you got hit before half time, he must have thought, see, I told you.
I reckon
He wouldn't have even seen it.
Well, we'll move on to the following year where you made the grand final against the Tigers again, 1973. How would you describe your year in 73 and tell us what went wrong in that grand final? Because we'd lost to Richmond, not that you were part of the team, but back in 69, and a lot of the players... such as Adrian Gallagher tell us about how we lost that game and it stuck with them for quite a few years. Because we went into the 69 grand final favourites and we lost against Richmond. We turned it around on them in 72 and in 73 they were clearly out for revenge. So,
Well, unfortunately I didn't play in that game. Barry Armstrong and I, he got appendicitis 2 weeks before.
That would have been a
And
blow.
I did my hammy in the second semi against Collingwood. So I was out. I couldn't play. I tried.
Yeah, you tried.
Training, but I couldn't.
So there you go. You've got a couple of really top players that are out already. So you're already down a couple of really good players.
Yeah.
So is it any wonder we didn't win?
I reckon had Barry and I played. Armour, he's a sensational player.
Yeah.
He got the ball so much.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't handball, not to me anyway. But he was a fantastic player who got the ball a lot. And in those days, he was quick.
He was quick, yeah.
Sort of stocky and...
You were
hard to
too.
grab.
You were nicely built too. I noticed, like, even the small players those days, they were well built. Not like these days, you can get a little scrawny little small forward. But you were well built too, just quietly.
Yeah, probably proportioned.
Yeah, proportioned,
And
everyone had big legs too. Like, I noticed all the players were muscles. They had, like, massive legs.
Yeah.
So your year of 73, was it full of injury, was it?
And so we were out. I don't think there was anyone else out injured, but then in the second quarter, Barm knocked Southby out, and he was out.
Yeah.
So that's 3.
Yeah.
You're down 3.
Normally senior players that are out.
Yeah, of course.
And Southby's important.
Southby was very
So important in the back line.
Do you think Jeff ever really recovered from that? From the 73 grand final when he got knocked out by Barm?
He probably recovered about 85%.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a fantastic fullback. I mean, he won best and fairest in his first 2 years at Carlton.
He did.
71, 72. But, and you had a lot of association with Jeff Southby up in Bendigo, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we went to the same school and played in the same teams. We played in the same cricket teams.
Yes, you did
all
too,
that, from kids. Yeah, and so I went into the rooms at half time after he got knocked out, and he was lying on a bench like this. Virtually
seeing stars.
Non-compass, had a bit of a chat to him, but he was gone.
Wasn't there.
There's no way known he was going to be coming back on.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that in 1970, Jeff and I played with Sandhurst.
Yes.
And he got injured in the preliminary final the week before.
Goodness me.
Because Greg Kennedy was playing
That's
for
right,
Eagle
Greg
Hawk.
Kennedy, another Carlton player.
Took a specco over Jeff and dislocated his shoulder or something. So they couldn't play the next week.
Yeah.
So then we lost the grand final by a goal.
So
That was the
every
one.
time you missed out.
That was the one where you still got best on the ground, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I might have. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it says in that.
But I mean, Greg
The
Kennedy.
records, yeah.
Oh, right.
Greg Kennedy's another one. I mean, so that's friendly fire again,
Yeah.
like you had with Wayne Harps.
Yeah.
I mean, gee whiz. You can be unlucky. You can be unlucky. But obviously, Richmond were hell bent on revenge, and they were going to do anything it took to reverse the to turn the tables on the previous
Yeah,
year.
and that's what it was like in those days. I mean, even
They were a ruthless team, weren't they, Richmond?
But they all were like Hawthorn and
North.
Collingwood, North.
Starting to come up.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
You knew it was going to be a war. Yeah.
Yeah, in those days too.
Most of them.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, all. So
your next, and then from 74, you had a good patch then, from like 74 to
78,
well,
79.
all the years, yeah. But you did make
You were a permanent
best and
fixture in that
fairest.
team.
You won a couple of
76.
those years.
Yeah. Well, tell us, actually, before we go through to the 79 premiership, there was 7 years there where we were there and thereabouts. Some couple of years we didn't make finals. Some others we did, but we didn't really go deep into the finals. Can you tell us about those years? 73 through to, say, 78?
Yeah.
Well, I say 74, I should say, because 73 obviously played in the grand final, lost it.
Yeah.
So what happened during those years? I mean, John Nichols was still your coach in 74.
Yes, but he was coach at 72, 73, 74.
And 5.
Yeah, and then...
And took off.
I think my opinion is that we should have been more
Successful.
steady with the coaches, because we were always there.
Yeah.
I mean, even right through to 1980, we would finish on top of the ladder.
Yep.
1980 finished on top of the ladder. That's
Yeah,
right.
and then went out in straight sets. But changing the coaches, I mean, I think I had my time. So you start with Barassi, then you got Big Nick, and then there's Ian Thorogood and Ian Stewart.
Surge.
Ian
For a couple of few
Thorogood.
games.
Ian Thorogood. Well, we actually had Surge and Keith McKenzie as fill-ins
That's right.
in between.
And then Jezza.
Yeah, then we had Jezza,
And then Perth.
Perce, and then David Parkin.
Yeah. So you had a lot of coaches.
I think if they'd have stuck with someone, shown confidence in them, and like the Big Nick, I don't know what happened there. I reckon, but anyway, whatever. I reckon that was the reason. We didn't have the stability. We didn't have...
A bit like the Carlton these days.
It is a bit.
It does stem from the top, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Culture.
Yeah.
What was the culture like at the club back in those mid-70s?
Oh, terrific. Despite the fact that we kept changing
Coaches, isn't it?
And fair dinkum, the coaches in those days, like Ian Stewart, he was there for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I know. What happened there? Like 6 weeks, like he's come along, he's a triple Brownlow medalist, isn't he? So,
fantastic player.
Yeah, fantastic player.
Yeah, but communication was pretty good.
Just goes to show you might be a fantastic player, but it doesn't make you a great coach.
No, certainly doesn't. No, you got to have that.
Why do you think he struggled to resonate with the team? I mean, was it his just brash communication style, or did he come in there and try and shake it all up? Or
I think that's what he was.
Right.
His aim was, I'll do this, and I'll
do this
my way and do it. So, and I'll give you an example. He did interviews with all the players. So when he interviewed me, he said to me, "You're at the crossroads.
This is in 1978.
What do I get from this year?"
This is a year that Trevor won the best and fairest, right? I mean, but he's at the crossroads.
That's what he said. But
Unbelievable.
I'd won the best and fairest in '76.
Yes.
77. I can't remember how I went.
We missed the finals in 77.
Yeah, obviously didn't play as very well, but.
Yep.
I don't know. So then 78 comes and he's there and he's bloody, and he gets into me straight away. Well, I paid him back because he went back and coached South Melbourne after that.
Yeah.
So we're out there one day. I'm on the bench for us.
Yep.
And I come on, kicks 3 goals and won the game.
Did you give him the bird on the way past?
He said to me, we used to have the after match. he came up to me and said to me, "You didn't do that when I was coaching."
That's great. I love the little playback.
Dear me.
Yeah.
Ian Thorogood. He's not very widely spoken about when we talk about Carlton history.
No one mentions him.
And we talk about Jezelenko and Barassi, I should say first. Did 68 through to 72. Those through to 71. Those 4 years were quite successful. Nichols from 72 through to 75, and then we talk a lot about Jezza once he took over in 78. But those years in between, Ian Thorogood was a Melbourne man. And he came over to Carlton and coached us in 76 and 77. What were those years like?
He was a reserves coach.
Yes.
So he took over
as senior coach once Nichols left.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So he took over. And 76 we got beaten by a point or something by North
Melbourne
Waverley.
Out at Waverley, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a shocker. Oh God, we should have won that.
I think we finished on top of the ladder in one of the... I think it might have been that year that we went out in straight sets.
Yeah. You might have.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
That hurts. I mean, you're on top of the ladder.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I was saying to Rocco on the way up here, in 75, 76 and 78, the grand finals were fought out between North Melbourne and Hawthorn.
Yeah.
And yet Carlton finished either top or second in 2 of those years.
Yeah.
And yet we never made the grand final.
Fairly good years.
It was just the finals where we just couldn't quite... get over the line. But so, what was Thorogood like as a coach? For you,
he was a bit. Yeah, he was a bit. I don't know whether he didn't have the Carlton sort of way of doing things or what, and
didn't quite gel.
And the team that he took over was very. We always had good teams, but. There were a lot of us who'd played from back to 1970, 69, some of them. Kevin Hall and all those blokes. They were all there, and some of them were still playing. Plus all the blokes like me who sort of started in 71. So it was a pretty hard team to take on and direct and tell you what to do.
It was a set,
Was it a bit of a, not a poison chalice, but a bit of a tough gig to follow from Nichols, where Nichols was part of that group. He played with them, then became a playing coach, and then once he stopped playing, he took over as a senior coach. But Thorogood had to take over a lot of strong characters, didn't he? I mean,
he did.
Some of the ones that you mentioned, the Kevin Halls, and but also emerging players like yourself, and you had Bruce Dool there, was already established, Jeff Southby, these sorts of guys, David Mackay. So it was a talented team.
Oh yeah,
but you just couldn't quite get the best out of you guys.
No, I'm not sure. I can't remember. I was sort of battling my own, battles to stay in the team and to do what I do. But and then I'm not a political animal where you analyse. What's he doing there? Why should he be there? And why should he be over there? And why should he be in the team? And all that sort of stuff.
You just focused on yourself.
I just tried
to.
Of course.
That's good.
Of course.
But it's interesting that those 2 best and fairest years that you had of 76 and 78, we did actually play well and we did play finals. We didn't quite get through to a grand final. But when you dropped off a little, so did the team. 77, missed the finals. And then, of course, we build up after the turmoil of Ian Stewart and then a couple of stand-in coaches like Serge Silvani and Keith McKenzie. Jezelenko takes over. Did you notice immediately a change in direction?
Change in attitude.
Attitude
for everyone.
Yeah. So tell us all about Jezza. What was he like as a coach?
Jezza was talk about wanting to do things your way. That's what he did.
So even worse than Ian Stewart.
Much worse.
But he could get away with it, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, because he played with you guys.
He had that strong character about him, and he did it. And there was no no's. There's no negative. You do it, and that's it.
Do it his way, and that was it.
Did you find him good for you as a coach?
Yes, as a coach, but I wished he'd had looked at, how small I was. And just didn't have to put me through the agony that some of the big blokes have to go through, you know, like dragging tractor tires.
Oh, that's right.
Up the
the same tractor tyre weighs the same amount for whether it's Percy Jones of 100 kilos or Trevor Keogh at 70. Oh, dear me.
God, that was.
How was it?
He was hard on the training track, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, God,
How was it being, he's the coach, but he goes onto the ground, right? How does he coach on the ground? I don't understand. Like, how's that work? Like, he's in the... is he screaming out instructions from the forward line to the back line, or what's going on?
No, he had the runner to come out.
And
if he wanted to make a move himself, but
he'd tell him.
I think they mainly did that from the bench.
Yep.
But Jez had already set a game plan, if you like.
Okay.
I think he has more in those days with us. He had more of a game plan than anyone does now.
Yeah.
Right.
Except for maybe Collingwood.
Well, that's it.
But you know, he'd already set that. It's man on man, or it's, you know,
whatever it is. Day,
that's what you did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he, you know, if you didn't do it, you're in strife.
Would he tell you if you didn't do it on the ground and that? Would he come and tell you on the ground, like?
No.
Oh, he wouldn't do that.
At quarter time, half time, 3/4 time.
Oh yeah, he'd do it then.
He'd do it then, so he wouldn't do it on the ground. So, all right, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Obviously, whatever it was, it worked, because in 1979, you guys hardly lost a match. You probably were dead set scared to lose a match because you knew he was going to flog you on the track the next week.
When we did lose one, it was dynamite on Monday and Tuesday night. God.
Forget the balls, 100 metres, 200 metres, 400 We've been told about that.
You didn't want it Saturday, so you're not getting it tonight.
Well, they did say, like, the premiership quarter, the third quarter premiership quarter came because of Jesselinko, because everyone was so scared to lose. He didn't want to lose it.
The other thing is, in 1979, you guys, as I said, hardly lost a match and went into that grand final against Collingwood. They were probably benefiting from the momentum of having won quite a few finals leading into that game. What were your feelings heading into that grand final?
The only thing were
you excited?
Yes, I thought we'd win.
Yep.
I thought we'd win easily.
Yep.
But the only thing that worried me was the conditions that day.
Yep.
You know, it rained all Friday night and the ground was bloody quagmire.
Yeah.
And didn't suit me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we had Ken Sheldon and Jimmy Buckley and Harmsy and myself and we had a lot of running.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you were one of the original Mosquito fleet.
Yeah,
we've been told. You were one of the founding members of the Mosquito fleet, in fact.
Oh yeah, and then before that there was Vin Cottogio.
Yes,
and Alec Marcoux.
That's right, Marcoux. Yeah.
So we had and on a dry day we used to laugh.
Yeah.
And, handball to each other and that sort of
You used
stuff.
to kick a lot of goals as a midfield group too, didn't you? And small forwards and Rod Ashman and Jimmy Buckley coming into it. And
and they were all good players. I mean, in their own right, they were good players.
My word, they were. Yeah.
Ashy was a bloody great player.
He was a star.
Up in the bloody forward pocket. He was fantastic.
He was dynamite.
He didn't miss many.
So, as Rocco said, did that third quarter, premiership quarter, come about because you guys used to say at half time, listen, we've got to win this, otherwise we're going to get flogged on the track?
Bloody oath, we did.
Yeah.
We used to say that.
Yeah.
And we had some good wins, and that one where Jezza got knocked out.
Yes.
On the wing.
Collingwood.
Magro knocked
him out at Princess
Park. We were
Park.
down, I don't know how many goals we were down at half time.
We were, and we come back and won.
Jezza was on the table. He wasn't too good at half time. So we virtually weren't coached.
Yeah.
We knew what to do.
But you knew what was going to happen on Tuesday with this game.
I think you won. You came back and won that match.
We did.
Yeah. Pretty sure it was 1979.
That's one of the ones I remember. Maybe Jesse got knocked out, but I remember coming back and winning the game.
Yeah, it was a great win. It was a really big win for the ages.
And I think the crowd, like I can't remember. I wasn't at that ground, too young, kind of. But the crowd would have been like,
they would have been up and about,
knocked out. Oh my god!
They were up and about. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So 79, we fall in.
Yep.
Now, we've talked about the Wayne Harms goal, where he taps it back in and Kenny Sheldon kicks the goal. Apparently, every single Carlton player had something to do with that goal. So what did you do that day?
Well, if you look at the...
Or were you just watching from the
if you look at the footage, I'm in there.
Yeah.
So the ball's going forward, and it's just a lot of players.
Yeah, there was that little bit of a fake, yeah.
I've kicked it off the ground, and then bloody Wearmouth or someone came in and took my legs out.
Ah, all right, yeah.
So if you watch that, you'll see that.
No, well,
yeah,
it's going to be up on.
We'll
it's
put
going
it
to be up as
We'll
you
put
say. So we'll watch that.
yeah,
And Jezza does his ankle,
yeah.
he's hobbling off the ground, and
that moment there happens.
I mean, they shift Peter Brown from full forward to full back to cover Jezza.
Yeah.
And at that moment there, just before that goal, because you're only 5 points up at that stage, I think. What's the feeling like? Is it?
Nervous?
Are you worried?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course you are. I have
Bloody
a stupid question.
Yeah.
Of course you're worried.
I was worried, all right, and I wasn't playing well either. So I was worried, doubly worried.
Right.
Trying to get a kick and the score.
Must have been huge relief for you after having won your first premiership in '72, which was fairly early in your career. Another 7 years had gone by before you got another one. So did you feel relieved and that sense of wow, we fell in?
Yeah, my word, I would have taken any win.
Anything, even
despite
a point.
my own feelings and what I'd done myself. I hadn't done much.
So because if you don't do a lot in the game, like
if you lose, you feel responsible.
You feel responsible, don't you?
Yes.
Even though it can't all be your fault, but you feel responsible, wouldn't
That's
you?
right. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You know, when after you won the '72, right? You had a good side there.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, you're young too? Do you think, hey, we're going to
win another 3 or 4 easily?
Well, I reckon we could have won the next year.
You probably could.
Well, they made the grand final the next year, but he didn't play.
Well, what I'm saying, we spoke to Mel Hanna just recently, and he said the same. He said he missed out on the '87, but he thought, I'll get my chance.
We're going to win. He said we're going to win 5 out of the next 10.
It was almost 10 years before he got. He played in
8 years more.
8 years more before he plays again. So it's funny how you get that, and then all of a sudden you look back and it's
gone.
It's 7 years.
Well, in your case, it was 7 years, but you got there. Must have been fantastic celebrations after the game, and
yeah. That was much the same though. That was a war right from the first bounce.
Yeah.
I mean, they were bloody charging around. I don't know whether our blokes were doing that. I wasn't doing it until someone hit me. Then I started doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Started going in.
And so at the end of that year, you're probably looking forward to playing 1980 and trying to go back to back, and all of a sudden we've got all this political upheaval.
Bloody. And after 70.
What caused all that, do you think?
I don't know. We tried to talk to Jezza about it, but
why did they want to get George Harris out when you just won a premiership?
Don't know.
I just don't understand that.
I never ever delved into that at all, but I know that we did go around to see Jezza and try and talk him out of it.
Yeah.
If George Harris goes, fine, but you stay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But he was
very loyal.
He's like that with the coaching. He's like that with his life. He's like that. At that time, he was like that.
You're not surprised, but because he was loyal to it. He was going to stick with it, and he stuck with it. That's why maybe he was such a champion player. But
do you think he'd look back on that now and think, did I pull the right rein or not? Or
Probably
do you think he'd still today be just as steadfast?
He'd be just as adamant.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
So, 1980, Perth takes over. What's Perth like as a coach?
Perth takes over. Yeah, well, in 1980, I was injured all year.
Yes, we talked about it earlier.
So,
thanks to Wayne
I didn't
Harms.
have a hell of a lot to do with Perth as coach. But
what did you do in those weeks before you played again, other than obviously rehabilitation and training? But what did you do? Did you have a role on match day or anything like that?
I was trying to get back, so I was playing. I played a few games in the reserves and all that, so when I could. And then I actually played a few games in the seniors. So they strapped the knee up and all that. So Perth did one thing as coach, which I didn't agree with him. I've never told him this.
Okay.
But But he knows it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm on the bench. I think it was my first game back.
Yep.
On the bench, playing North Melbourne.
Yep.
At Princess Park. They were beating us, bloody killing us, and Keith Gregg was starring on the wing. So, guess who he takes off the bench and puts on Keith Gregg?
You.
On your first game back after your injury.
So I get a kick, my first kick, on my left foot going around towards the far end goal, kicked it out of bounds.
Straight
Okay.
So out comes the runner. What are you doing? You know,
Kicked it out on the full. It's a bit of an arse though, isn't it? I mean, first game back, you're playing on an absolute champion, the dual Brownlow medalist.
Starring on the day.
Who's actually best on the ground on the day, and he's expecting you to saddle up for that.
Yeah.
Goodness me, he didn't ask much of
The
him.
only way I could have beaten Keith Gregg that day was to give him one of those. I wasn't going to do that.
No, you never hit anyone.
Not with
But I just want to take you back a little bit because we mentioned it earlier, and I said I'll come back to it, so I'm going to come back to it now. Just as you mentioned, the only way I was going to stop Keith Gregg was to give him a whack. There was some sort of club championship in Adelaide at the end of the 72 season.
Yeah.
And you went over to Adelaide and played various teams. And there was a bloke called Big Mel Brown playing for one of the South Australian teams. I'm not sure which one it was. Was it Norwood? Might have been Norwood. And all of a sudden, there's a bit of a stoush on the ground. And a few Carlton players are hopping into him, and you just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, I put myself in that position.
You did.
I did. I can't deny that.
And he went whack.
Call him something.
He just saw you coming towards him, and whether you'd done anything or not, he just went, "That's it. He's in my way."
It was the second time.
Second time
Is that right?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Did
Anyway.
he break your jaw?
No.
He didn't.
No.
It was a nice
Because there's a lot of footage that claims that Mel Brown broke your jaw.
East Fremantle. I was trying to think.
Oh, it was East Fremantle. That's right. Because he's a Western Australian boy, isn't he? Yep.
Yeah, no, he didn't break my jaw. He could have done anything because it was a full on punch. And I turned around, I thought I'd lost some teeth.
Yeah.
So I've gone round and spat it out.
Yep.
It was only spit.
Did you have a mouth guard on at the time?
No teeth.
You did.
Yeah.
It's important to have those mouth guards on, especially when you're playing in the 1970s.
Yeah, you can see I lost my front teeth in the under 18s. And
Is that right?
Yeah, when I was 17.
Goodness me.
That was lovely.
Yeah, that would have been
had to put up
enough
for the rest of my life.
Put you off playing football.
At 17 too, when you got a little pretty. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, getting back to 1980, so Perth coaches us to, I think, second on the ladder, 17 wins and 5 losses.
I reckon
second, yeah. And unfortunately, another one of those years we were out in straight sets.
Yeah.
Did you play in those finals?
I played in the one against Collingwood, I think.
Yep. First semi.
Yeah.
Because we lost the qualifying final, which means we get a second chance, and we played the first semi. We would have had to have won every other game after that to win. But we lost that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Collingwood by a point.
Yeah. I think I was on the bench that day as well because I had the knee.
Back in those days, though, the bench didn't mean just 19th and 20th man, and it was actually an interchange, wasn't it? It was. I'm pretty sure in
1980.
I think in the late 70s they had an actual interchange.
Yeah. Could well have been.
Yeah. So
so that was a disastrous day too. No one played well that day, I don't think.
No.
And then of course Perth gets replaced by David Parkin.
Yeah.
What did you think of that move?
Well, I think of all the coaches that I had at Carlton, he was the most organised.
Professional.
He was professional. He had gift of the gab as well.
Yeah.
And
he resonated with you?
Yeah. He was a nice bloke. Yeah. Good bloke.
I thought he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think had he been in some of the teams back in the 70s, we would have won.
Would have won some more.
Yeah. Definitely.
Instead of coaching Hawthorn, he should have come to Carlton back in 77 and 78.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, he won a flag with Hawthorn in 78.
He's definitely ahead of his time in the coaching, wasn't he? The way he would,
plan
stuff and what were those?
He used to send out
what were they called? The when he used to write a report on
Report to the players.
Yeah, report to players.
I don't know what he called them.
Yeah.
I never ever got one.
Oh, didn't you?
No, I was virtually finished then.
Yes, because in
Yeah, I
81.
played-
Yeah.
yeah,
How many
81 I
games
played
did you
the
play in
seconds.
81?
I played most games. I would have played all games in the reserves and just a handful in the seniors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's right. And you did win.
And he didn't bother sending me letters.
No, he didn't bother sending letters. All right.
Well, in fact, your last game was against St Kilda in round 15 of 1981, so you did play some senior football under David Parkin.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't quite make the grand final team of 81.
No.
How do you feel?
Didn't deserve to.
No, that's it.
Well-
How do you feel watching your teammates win the grand final and you're not part of it?
No, good.
That it's all right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Is that because you were sort of at the end of your career?
I was at the end anyway.
At the end, and you've won your couple of premierships.
Yeah.
Like it's, I think it'd be different if you didn't have a
Someone
premiership.
who just misses out, who gets dropped 2 weeks before or whatever, they'd be devastated, of course.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And so would I be.
I think so. I think so. If you just get dropped last minute, or we've had a few over the years that's happened to. I think that would be devastating.
So you didn't know when you played that last game against St Kilda in round 15. You didn't know that was going to be your last game, obviously.
No.
So when you start to realise, hang on, it's all over, I'm not going to play again. How does that make?
I think I already knew then.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon I already knew then, and it was just playing out the year, and then give it away.
Right.
But
so you announced your retirement before the final series of 81 or afterwards? Or?
I didn't make any announcements. I think everyone just knew I was finished.
That's it.
And that was it.
Retired. So just announced that you're retired.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's no drive around.
Lap of
But interestingly, I mean, look, so highly were you thought of at the Carlton Football Club by everyone. I'm telling you, everyone I speak to has got nothing but praise for you. They immediately made you a coach of their under-19 team.
Yeah.
That must have been a nice
that was good.
gesture and sort of an opportunity to get involved at the grassroots level.
Yeah. No,
did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
How many years did you do that for?
82, 83, 84. 3 years.
And you had David Mackay there helping you? Or?
I had Swan there that in the last year, I think.
Yep.
Yes, he was still...
How did they go? Did they get to any sort of finals and play grand finals?
We were well down the list.
Because the reserves team was quite strong through those years, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they're like when David Parkin was there, and that was when I was coaching, he was there. The idea was to select the blokes that you think have got potential to go up.
Keep moving
and
up,
if they are good in the under-19s,
they'll go through the reserves. I think Brian Quirk might have been coaching the reserves back then, is that right?
Yeah, and he was coaching the under-19s before me.
Before you?
Yeah. But so we used to meet every Thursday night with the senior. We were with the senior match committee.
Did you coach any players that were coming up through the ranks that eventually became senior household names?
I'm surprised Mil Hanna didn't tell you that.
Yeah. Well, he actually did. He actually did.
Did he?
Yeah. And we did Mil Hanna only last week.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And one of our viewers, who's a member of the channel, the Jumper Punch channel, this is the opportunity you've got, everyone.
That's right.
He won the right to come to that interview and ask a question.
All right.
And guess what? He's a cousin of yours.
All right.
He's a cousin of yours. He said, Trevor Keogh is my cousin.
Yeah.
Gerard.
Trying
to think of his surname. Oh, goodness. Anyway.
Dwight?
Have a look.
No.
Have a look. It might have been Dwyer, was it? Have you got a cousin called Gerard?
Not that I know.
It was either a cousin or a second cousin or something.
Yeah, well, apparently he's a cousin.
He reckons he's a cousin of yours, so maybe he hasn't seen you for a while. But anyway,
or maybe he's like Italian. Everyone's your cousin.
But Mil Hanna did. Yeah, that's right. Mil Hanna did tell us that his earliest coaches were yourself and David Mackay in the under-19s.
Yeah. Oh, there was Mick Kennedy.
Yes.
Darren Ogier.
Darren Ogier was a good full forward. Yeah.
Mark Williams.
What about a bloke called Heath Buck? Do you remember him?
Heath Buck.
Yeah.
No.
Did he play any other at that stage?
He actually has a channel called My Blue Heaven on YouTube. G'day, Bucky, if you're watching.
Yeah, he played in the under-19s.
And he played
but in those years?
Under-19s and reserves. Yeah, I think so.
I don't think in those years. I reckon it was a bit later.
Do
you think it was later, do you?
I
remember
Might have been mid-80s. Might have been mid-80s onwards. I'm not sure. But
I reckon it was later.
Anyway, Any other
Tell me
household names?
something.
No. Pretty much it.
If I had time to think about it, there was at least Ian Aitken.
Ian Aitken,
Oh,
yes.
there you go.
Yeah. Another Brunswick boy.
Yeah.
He-
So you took a lot of guys on that lived around the sort of fringes of Carlton. They'd lived there or were
Yeah,
brought
well,
up.
that was our zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
What about
Layla and
Did Paul Meldrum come through through that, or did he go straight to
he just walked
reserves
in
and
off
He
the
teams?
just walked in and played next week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He
that's
just
right.
walked in and played
yeah,
next
not
week.
many people do that.
No, exactly.
What kind of coach were you? Who would you?
How would you
compare
describe?
I
yourself
was sort of, I think I'd be more like Wolsey.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Wolsey was always pretty calm unless things were really going wrong.
Yeah.
But I was Wolsey's runner
Yep.
Yes.
in 80,
86 and 87?
85, 86, 87, and then Wolsey got the arse.
Wolsey actually came at the end of 85.
Did he?
Parkins last year was 85.
Well, who was
So 86, 87, 88, and then he got the second 89.
Okay, so Wolsey came in 86.
Six. Yeah.
Okay, so
You were
The
the
start
runner.
of '86.
and I was the runner.
I was going to mention after you finished your coaching, then you became the runner.
Yeah,
That would have been fun.
yeah,
Listening to the coach screaming at you down the phone.
yeah.
I
Running
reckon
out.
it's fun going out to the players, telling them what the coach wants them to do.
Well,
Did you have to sort of soften it up a little bit?
Wolsey was the only one that used to say, "What did he say?" And I'd say, "Oh, I'd make something up."
Yeah, of course,
Yeah, and he agrees with that. He should be. Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
So you were more the peacemaker and sort of the conduit between coach and player.
Yeah, so I was sort of like that.
You really
as a
need
coach,
some
I
good
think.
communication skills to have a job like runner.
Yes,
Don't
you
you?
do. You do.
I happen to know the previous runner, Bob
Yeah.
Lowry, who was the runner in the 79 through to 82 era, I
Oh
think.
God, yeah, we used to tell him to fuck off.
Fantastic.
Oh, dear me.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? Shit, when you're the runner and you go out and halfway out you forget the message.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah,
You
yeah.
go, run to some player. Say
You
good day
just
to
make
say good day to Peter Dean. Deanie, you go well,
Just
mate.
go back there. That's it. You're going well, mate. Just keep doing what you're doing, mate. You're doing well.
Everyone from Bendigo says hello.
If they ever sent me out to Sticks, I'd just go out to Sticks and say, Sticks, don't get in front. Just bloody jump on your back. Get behind and jump into their back.
Oh, yeah,
But he always played in front.
Yes, that was a credit to
So
him.
were you the runner in the 87 grand final?
Yeah.
Wow. How'd that feel?
That was great.
Yeah, that would have been good. Different experience.
Yeah. Well, I was
watching
with a new generation of all the
Yeah,
players, so I knew
100%.
them all well.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And do you
it was good.
celebrate? You celebrate hard. How much a part of it do you feel being a runner?
Oh, every bit of it.
Yeah, I suppose
every
as
bit of
a
it.
supporter, I feel
Well,
like
that's
every part of it,
as
let alone a runner.
As a player and then going on to the under 19s and then going on to the runner,
Yeah.
I kind of knew everyone.
Everyone, you see
yeah.
them go, I see, you
Yeah.
feel a part of it. Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
we actually mentioned on a previous interview that Sid Jackson missed out on playing in the 1968 premiership
Yeah.
because he couldn't get a clearance or whatever it
For a
was.
year, yeah.
But at least he felt part of it because he was actually
the
the
runner.
runner that
Yes.
day. So
He was.
and yeah, you've just confirmed that you do feel part of that premiership,
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Because you've actually had an active role to play.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was great.
Well, I
1987.
was a runner until '86 when we lost.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
As
right.
well.
Lost the 86.
That wouldn't have been too.
No,
was
that
it?
wasn't good.
No, that wasn't good.
Wasn't
87,
awful.
did you feel like... Who said that they made a move? Oh, there was someone who said that, I don't know, was it in the... Anyway, I can't remember, we won't go into it.
What, the runner made a move?
Not the runner made a move or a call, maybe for the Jets. Or was it for the 72? Was someone else? We'll get back to you about that. I remember someone telling us something. He feels like Peter, was it putting Peter Brown, telling him to go back on or something? And then
Brownie was ready to come off.
he was ready to
And
go.
then when Jezza went down, they said, no, get down the back line. And,
Who was that? Someone said that they
I think the
kinda-
runner just made an immediate call, having seen Jezza go off. And he was about to pull Brownie off the ground. He said, actually, No,
stay.
don't come off. Go down there.
Yeah.
And
I think he just
and
made
takes that.
Yeah,
He'll take that.
I think that might have been.
I did that movie.
That might have been Bobby. That might have been Bobby Lowry at the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I guess we could sit here all day and reminisce about the old days. I mean, after finishing up as runner at Carlton, you probably started to take it easier in terms of involvement with the club.
Yeah, that was enough.
Yeah.
Actually, David Parkin said, stay on as a runner. I said, I'll only sack you twice a week. No thanks.
Well, before we go, one more thing.
Yep.
So, Carlton Hall of Fame,
Yeah, that must have been a big thrill.
It was.
Team of the Century.
Team of the century.
How does... Well, I'm going to ask how does it feel? Can't feel anything but great, you know what I mean? But
Well, I
Did
think-
that take you by surprise, or did you expect to be named in that team? Team of the century.
No, it took me by surprise.
Yeah.
But it's
Didn't
probably-
surprise anybody else, Trevor. No one else was surprised by that.
Thanks.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest honour that
yeah.
I've had bestowed on me
Yes.
by Carlton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
And Hall of
fantastic.
Fame with your great mate Jeff Southby in the same year as well.
Yep. Yeah.
You two go back a long way, don't you?
do.
Back to the Bendigo days.
Yep.
When you think about it, right, so the old man said you were too small, and then, like, years later, you're named in the team of, like, the century. Like, it's the 100 years you are the best.
You're in the best
Think
22.
about it. Like, when you think about it in that context,
You're in the
like,
best
it's-
22.
It's just amazing. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a big honour, and it's hard to get your head around.
Yeah,
really.
of course. As far as like,
yeah.
you got to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
Look how great I am. But we're telling you, like, that is like amazing.
Did your dad ever say anything to you after your career was over and after, you know, all of the accolades like Team of the Century member and Hall of Fame? Did he ever come up to you and say, Trevor, I got it wrong?
That's typically
And,
the old
son, I'm proud of you. Never did that. What is it about these hard blokes that
never
just...
utter those words?
Really?
No.
That's
Oh, dear me.
I often think though that he must have had a fantastic time. You know what it's like being a father,
Of course.
and your kids are doing well.
do something.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
You're just so proud of them.
You're
aren't
so
you?
proud of
Yeah.
them, and you can go to that game. And
Yeah.
with us, it was mainly footy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
6 of us playing,
Yeah,
and he could go there and say, "Oh my God, you know, this is great."
yeah.
But just getting back to that, he's never said
Yeah.
proud of your son or anything. But I think he used to tell his mates.
I was going to say, I bet you around his mates, he would have said a
At the
lot.
local pub. Did you see Trevor? He won this.
You see Trevor, he's like team of the century.
They'd be saying that to him. He wouldn't be saying it to them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, well, yeah, that too,
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, he probably had a few, you know,
Oh yeah.
cheers
I'm
over
sure
a beer.
I'm sure he did.
I reckon the old men, mate. The old men, they're just crazy. I reckon there was Ange Christou who said
Yes.
that his dad never went to watch him game, and after he passed away, he reckons they were looking, and he found a box, and he had all his articles in there.
Clippings,
and that.
newspaper
Like he never
clippings.
said anything, but
He was proud of him.
So
God,
proud
that's
of
terrible,
him. So,
isn't it? God.
yeah,
Well,
but
it's terrible, but it's funny,
it's lovely,
it's
but
quirky.
it's a thing, but just like.
Did you find that box that your dad had of yours?
That's it.
No, Mum had one.
Oh, Mum had one, I bet you she
Mum
did.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Mums don't hide.
No, they don't.
They hide it.
Well, there you go. Well, Trevor, dual premiership player, 1972 and 1979. You also played for Victoria on a couple of
Yes.
occasions.
Yeah, once.
Best and fairest.
Well, I've got it here that 76 and 78 that you were a representative of Victoria.
No,
No?
don't think so.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
what it says on there.
we'll check on that.
We'll have to-
But certainly
to offer.
two
Just
best.
take it. That's
Yeah.
another.
Certainly
mate.
two best and fairest. Two best and fairest in 76 and 78. And of course, as Rocco mentioned, Hall of Fame, Carlton team of the 20th century. You are an ornament to the game, let alone the Carlton Football Club. Thank
Thanks,
you
mate.
so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, mate. And
Thanks.
now you can add Legend of the Jumper Punch to that.
Yeah, I'm proud
it.
of that.
And we'll finish up as we always do when we cheer on our team.
Go Blue.
Blues.
Go
Till
Blues.
I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Coming out of the gate, I'll be last place, that's alright. I don't work at a fast pace, I'm a steady horse creeping up straight past it. And once I pass